Welcome to No Excuses. Today we're going to talk about what I read over the last week. And I read 3 books and they were all hits. So what an awesome thing. And I'm going to share them with you. So yes, I read 3 books. So the first book is Sisters of Fortune. So I picked up this book. It looked good. It was about the Titanic, set on the Titanic. Where could you go wrong? And I started reading. And the only thing I'm going to say about this one negative is the fact that it read slow. It was not a pick it up and you're going to be flying through it. It just seemed like it took a long time to get through the story. Maybe that's because the whole time I'm just like, she's gonna sink, get to the sinking. But, you know, I don't know. But it just seemed like it took a while. But the book is actually set, as I said, on the Titanic. It actually starts a little bit before the Titanic to introduce you to the characters of the story. It is a family that is from Canada who did a world tour and they were coming back on the Titanic. And you were actually meeting some of their friends. And as you got closer to them embarking on the Titanic, you met a couple of the other main characters. So they get on the boat and it actually walks them through very, very detailed what was happening on the boat. Their experiences on the boat. And it's very good because it describes the boat, it describes people, it describes a lot of the scenes that you've seen pictures, you know, the picture of the kids playing on the deck. They describe that and as having seen it. So it's actually a very, very good book. As I'm reading it, part of me though wanted to say, okay, so now we just have the Titanic. Because of course the one daughter is engaged, her fiance is still in Canada, and she of course meets somebody that is very interesting to her. But all 3 of these sisters have something happening in their lives, either unhappiness about their future, unhappiness with their prospect of a mate, unhappiness with whatever. They were all dealing and grappling with these issues, and you know, they were all coming to a head at the same time. And so the story jumps back and forth, and it's not very well laid out because one minute you'll be hearing the story about this sister and the next minute they're jumping to that sister. But you're able to follow it because you know what's happening. So it is a good book because you have these 3 stories interwoven in together. And of course, yes, the Titanic does sink. I don't want to steal the thunder, but she does sink. And you know, you're sitting there and against all odds, you want everybody to live. And as you're reading, you know that everybody is probably not gonna live. I'm not gonna steal the thunder of which characters live, which characters die, if any of them died, because you just need to read the book. It was a good book. Even though it read more slowly than a normal book for me, it was still a really good book. I actually would rank it about a 3. You know, it's a solid book. So, you know, I would have no problem with it. It would be a high 3. The next book I read was called The Mother. This is about a book about a lady who got married. She should have been happy the first year of marriage, but yet she realized that she had made a mistake. She was not in love with this man and he was very controlling. So all you heard about her talking was about how she wanted to leave. And then he comes in and says how he wants to have a baby. Something propels her to say yes and they have a baby. And it does not end well for some of the characters. Because she struggled with having a baby. She struggled with being pregnant. She struggled with the baby after the baby was born. You know, she was still in a marriage that wasn't a happy marriage and just things were happening. And it was a good book. It was a quick book. It snap, 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 and it was done. The book actually had me guessing, like most of the way through the book, I'm thinking, oh yeah, I know what the ending is. And then there was a twist and I'm like, and then another twist, and it was just very interesting. So I thought that was interesting. I would actually rank this a 3, another high 3. The third book was Hill of Secrets. This book was set in the World War II era, and it is about a couple. He was a scientist, and she actually had been in school to be a scientist, but she had given it up to actually follow her husband in his journey and his career. And he gets called on a secret mission as a scientist, and they go to this remote area where she is miserable because it's so freaking remote. And everything's a secret. They have army people whenever they go into town, they have to be watched. It's very secret. And, you know, in the back of your mind, you know what's happening. What kind of thing were scientists be working on that was top secret in the war? Do I have to tell you? things happen, and she befriends a young girl, and life, it just happens, and things happen out of her realm, and she is sucked into this lifestyle and this life on this deserted, remote, what they made into a base, while her husband is working. And, you know, the relationship is struggling because he can't talk about anything in work, which they used to always talk about. And so it goes through what happened to her, where she was. And there is a story weaved in where she meets the girl, and she becomes friends with this young girl. And this young girl meets a scientist who they fall in love. And that's one story. And then the other story arc is this lady and her problems with her marriage and searching for something because her husband isn't there for her because of the work on the gadget. And I mean, it's just a really good book. It's a whole different view because, you know that this was happening, and it was most likely top secret. I don't know if there's anything based on fact, and there really was, and there really was a secret compound somewhere. I don't know, because this book is a work of fiction, but it was a good book. It opened your eyes to something different that I've never read about. What did the scientists and their families do while they were creating the gadget? They didn't refer to it as a bomb until the very, very end. But, it brings a different viewpoint. Is somebody was creating this. And so what happened to the families that were, dealing with this top secret gadget? So it was a good book. I'd rank this a solid 3. Probably a solid 3. The other two I would probably have ranked at a high 3, but this was a solid 3. I would recommend all of these books. They were all really good books. I had a good hit of reading, which is good because the last couple reviews I've had some busts. So it was about due time to have some good reading. Let me know if you've read any of them. If you want to read them, I have the links in the description, and you can go pick them up at Amazon or your library, wherever you want. And let me know if you pick them up and what you think. No excuses.